Thanks for checking out the latest real conversation from OJonesMusicFest, a fandom celebration and production of Oh No He Did ENT under the auspices of Tatro Jones Multimedia. You can find us everywhere at OJonesMusicFest. This is the second annual event. We're so glad that you tuned in to us. Bonebreaker Studios, I'm in here, you're out there. Come on in and let's get into a real conversation, shall we? And with whom am I speaking? Today, it's the main man of Southtown Media Productions, documentarian, filmmaker, and friend, Brother Alfonso Curry. Brother Al, how's it going, man?
Everything's groovy, man. I'm glad to be here. It's been a while. We got a lot of history together, a lot more history
Absolutely.
to make.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I get to keep that because I know the editor. So and that's going in there. A lot of history between us and a lot more to make. I think that you got some history to be talking about here. We'll get into that. But I want to kind of go around the edges and then we'll get into the center of the pie here. Listen, and as a dope person, fans now and in the future, showing you love and you showing it right back. O Jones Music Fest celebrates that. Will you speak on how you balance love for what you do and for whom you do it?
Okay. So it is a balancing act. That's never a question. I have given consideration to how to go about maintaining balance because it is important. And uh, as time has gone on, what I realized the best way to balance any parts of my life, anybody that is dealing with parts of their life that are important to them, you can't do it all, otherwise you'll be out of balance. So the way I maintain balance is just do one thing every day for the things that you love.
Mm.
One thing every day. Family that you love. Do one at least one thing every day to
Huh.
sharpen that balance. One thing for health every day to maintain that balance. Always just one thing. And then when you look back, all those one things will add up. The scale will start to show the balance. And if you've done too many things in one direction, that balance will be out of balance.
Right.
But one thing every day.
I get it. I guess it's kind of like I imagine a parent would worry if they had three children. How do you show equal love, equal time to all children and get along with the things of life? Well, you don't. If you just like, okay, let me love one thing, either we all go on play date or I take this one kid to this one thing. Like you show one thing, full love, circle, next thing, full love. Nobody feels cheated. And it's definitely still a balancing act, but it's not an impossible balancing act. Okay. There's probably some wisdom in there and stuff. I'm gonna have to cook on that. Most
Well, when
definitely.
you get to the end, you'll probably have something accomplished.
No doubt. Oh, and there it is. Okay. So then the balancing act and the outcome is accomplishment. You got something done. Okay. Real conversation. All right. And that's what we talk about here in these real conversations. We got real people who are really doing their thing. So it's real talk. We need more of it. And so since we're here, let's have some more real talk. I want you, Al, to step outside of yourself for a moment, and if you were to watch yourself walk into a room, not being you, but out of body experience, ask a couple of things, you can speak on them, take them on how you wish. What would be the answer to those among you whispering in the room saying, who is that? And then what would the first impression be as an onlooker to yourself? What would be your impression? And then what impression or lesson would you like to leave at the end of the encounter?
Deep one. Don't I guess we all had or will have what we call an out of body experience at some point. So I always like it when, and this is me just looking at it practically and objectively from if I saw someone, especially if someone that isn't, they at some point in time were the ordinary individual. And I think what I always love is when I hear someone say, why does that person look familiar to me?
Mm.
Why do you know, and everyone's going to have that question. Why does that person look familiar to me? Hey, if you are out in the community being a good neighbor, that means that's why you probably got recognized.
Mm.
Being recognized as a neighbor, even no matter where you might be, you can just be that common person. Why do you look familiar to me? Are we neighbors? Are we, how is it that we came into each other's existence? If you can be recognized as a neighbor pretty much everywhere you go, I think you've done something.
Good stuff. I think that that look-alike phenomenon, you just gave me a different take on it. A lot of times people would think, oh, you're somebody famous, and then try to assign that fame to familiarity. But it's far better if someone knows you because they've seen you around doing something helpful, doing something worthwhile, and that's the impact. That's kind of that first impression. It's kind of cool. I go with that. Um, what about like once someone has had the encounter and say, you of course would be effective as you, but if you were observing yourself move as an observer, when you left the room, what kind of impression would you want somebody to have of Al Curry once all was said and done and you were walking out, mic drop?
Um, there are going to be instances where you don't make a favorable impression.
Mm.
The saving grace for any impression is time. So if you're in a situation where perhaps it wasn't ideal, hopefully that person will come back and have a level of redemption for you.
Okay.
And you hope that over time you can redeem yourself, because I typically, my last impression of people is typically the one that I like to carry with me. And if you've endured, at some point in time later, maybe you'll be lucky enough for that person to remember you, and they may hold an unfavorable impression of what that one encounter was. And I've had this happen before. This is not me speaking with an out of body experience, where I knew I probably was short with that person. They were doing the gracious thing and saying you were busy, and I wouldn't let them kind of stand in or step in and discount the fact that I might have been short with them. And this was the way that exchange went. I said, no, if we're going to get along, let's start with honesty. I was short with you. And they said, you know what? You were short with me. And I said, yeah, and I want to apologize, but I hope you were able to get your situation rectified. That person turned to me and said, you just made a friend, because nobody will typically own up to their side of a bad encounter a lot of times.
Ooh.
It's rare.
Fact. Fact.
And I'm not speaking about a hypothetical situation. This is a real circumstance that took place.
May I help you? I think that that's correct. And I was actually gonna you kind of led me back down the path. I know that everybody back in our days back on campus who would call us or call you friend, there's certain types of friends that you have. You have the ever pleasant friend, you have the reliable for a ride friend, and you got the Kiki friends. Brother Al is not Kiki friend. Brother Al is who we got to go against. I'm on your side. Who are we for? I'm going to show you I'm an ally. And sometimes that doesn't come across as pleasant. It can be seen as something that's terse, but it can never be seen as disingenuous. So people who stick around and see that know that, okay, this type of friend, he got the business handle. When it's time for a laugh, it's time for a laugh. But sometimes it ain't time for a laugh. And if you catch it that moment and that's what you got, well, you might have lost out on that friend. But owning it in that moment, giving that accountability and knowing that you say, you know what, of the things that I would have to sacrifice, because nobody is everything to everyone. So if I have to sacrifice some personality trait, and it's the fact that I don't give you a toothy smile every day because I'm out here fighting with and for you, so be it. And so then I think that circling back to the love thing, the way that you do the love balancing act, it could very well be that. Understanding that in your way that you move in mission and purpose, it may not be the let's have a hug every day. It might be something else, but it's still love. I mean, I kind of just I felt that. I'm going like that makes sense. That makes sense. That's a brother Al motive right there. That's a move.
Yes,
Most
sir.
most definite. Man, okay. So now that's some real conversation for you. I want to move into evolution. And I'm not talking millennia concepts and stuff, or evolution over the course of it could be weeks, but over our lives, we could all probably say that we've changed. I can't remember the way that the saying goes, but they say if you're the same person 20 years later, then you wasted 20 years of your life, that kind of thing. So we all change over time. The game, life, it changes you. But I wanted you to give a brief series of snapshots. Generally, when you're doing something, in your case, filmmaking, you have a day one snapshot where you said, I have the inkling, but no idea how to do it. I'm just getting started in this thing. But that's a different person than from day one to day 1001, roughly 3 to 4 years in. That person has some experience, probably enough to know that they don't know enough. So that's a different thing. And then lastly, like what's the current day, last week or last recollection of something significant, but kind of give a snapshot of the in the beginning, in the gumption, and now type of situation, if you speak to that.
Yeah. So I think I've been fortunate enough to have been involved in some conversations lately with folks of note who we've had to kind of go around and figure out how to sharpen each other. And that's you'll hear me use that a lot. Sparks are what sharpen people. Disagreements can become the glue. Um, but we keep climbing. Stated is that there are three kinds of people when it comes to scaling. And in this instance, scaling a mountain is the scenario that I leaned on and leaned into. There's quitters, there's campers, and there are climbers scaling a mountain. The quitter usually never gets started because they see the mountain and how much scaling has to happen, and they just stop, say, I'm not doing it. That's the quitter. The camper starts and they get to a certain point and they camp out and they never pick back up. They might even scale back down. But the climber keeps climbing. Doesn't have to always be to heights. It can even be an outward climb. But the climber keeps climbing. And the question that was posed to me recently is, okay, from 50,000 feet, what do you see? And my answer is hopefully there's more movement that I can see than there was when I started.
Mm,
You can look down, and that's how movement happens. You can look down and say, hey, wow, there's more movement over there than I thought was. Maybe we did something there. There's more movement over here. Oh, wow, there's more movement up here. So, but if you keep climbing, that's just a thing. That's a real thing. Just
huh.
keep climbing. I'm a climber.
You are a climber. I'll give you that. And I don't think there's any quit in you. So that's probably some observation you made along the mountain trail to extend the metaphor. I can say that. And the campers, it might be a place.
Yeah,
I
there's a
mean,
place. The
yeah,
climbers are gonna see the campers along the way.
yeah, exactly. I think that,
So
yeah.
you're gonna get in that time frame of day one, day 1001 and beyond, even till now, you're gonna run into all facets along the way.
Mm,
And you never know. You might turn a quitter into a climber. You might turn a camper into a climber.
hmm.
You might talk a camper into saying, hey, why don't you go back down and talk to that quitter, and maybe you'll get motivated to keep climbing.
Indeed.
You never know. It all kind of blends together. It's fusion.
It is. Man. Okay.
And it all comes into an alignment if you just kind of keep climbing for knowledge.
Interesting.
There's always something in that climbing journey. And I've heard it said best, hey, I've heard people say, yeah, right now I'm just working for knowledge.
Hmm. I like the climb analogy. I wouldn't have thought of that as an answer to how to apply it, but it makes a whole lot more sense. I mean, if you see me incorporate it, pull my coattail and say, hey, you got that from me.
Hey,
I don't take credit, where it ain't doing stuff, but that might be a better way to frame the question there and stuff. You hit some gold there.
well, let me say that I can't take credit for it. It was shared with me. And one thing about climbing, you can't climb alone. So why don't you just share the information so we both can build upon it?
Absolutely. Now that's real conversation. And folks, it's real people like Al Curry here who are actually doing their thing. We'll get into that, but I want to get into some more of the conversation. Now, what I'll note to extend a little bit more on your clowning metaphor is that you haven't spoken to things or maybe even fellow climbers that might hold you back. So we're thinking things, people, a whole crab in a barrel, type of situation. If you can kind of see that, but I just want to say, not me. I'm a fan of yours, and I want you to know that beyond that, you're a hero of mine. Now, stepping into your super self, a super Al, so to speak, self actualizing, living the life that you have lived and that you want to live. You, like me, we went and picked up a degree in this thing and ended up doing something else because that's what we wanted to do. You don't just have to get locked in to what is expected. You can break expectations and live the life you want to. And I think that is heroic in and of itself. But when you become a superhero, you face super villains. To me, I've seen beyond what somebody else would do to me, a lot of times what I do to myself. And in this regard, I'm thinking something like imposter syndrome. Now, I can't even imagine you suffering it, but you've heard the term imposter syndrome. You know of it?
I've heard of it. Yeah,
Okay,
I get
yeah,
the, I get the actual tag that some
gotcha.
people can impose upon themselves. So yeah,
So then that,
imposter, impose, same thing.
yeah. So then that hesitation or either the regret for taking so long to get going on what you really wanted to do, or some other principality or force against you. I would say if there was some advice that you could give a listener or maybe even your younger self, your day one self, about how you fight such supervillains now that you've come into your own superheroism, can you impart a word on how to fight supervillains like imposter syndrome or things that hold you back?
Belief is number one,
Hmm.
and you have to believe that you are the person that you've been looking for all along.
Mm,
Sometimes the person you're looking for is right in the mirror.
absolutely.
And you could, if you water your grass, it will grow like your neighbor's will. Can't always keep looking over the fence for what you want. Sometimes you are the person that you've been looking for to encourage, but sometimes you're the person that you're not looking for to discourage or talk your to the one person sometimes you have to convince is yourself.
Absolutely.
But belief is a big part of that. Now, there are different reasons for why people believe, don't believe. I won't get into a lot of my own opinion. Definitely not clinical, but
Mm,
opinions
right.
and experience and my perspective. But uh, perspective has a lot to do with belief.
Okay.
And you talked about heroes. I can honestly say I've always heard that the idea of heroes. I don't necessarily. I think a lot of people can have a cape that you may not see.
Right.
Went to a banquet last night, and at this banquet, they were recognizing all the people that were behind the scenes who you just do not see. And there was a video of them just recording themselves putting together set design and backdrops, celebrating themselves. And I'm looking and saying that probably was the most touching one of all of them
Absolutely.
because they're celebrating themselves.
Absolutely.
And the only undefeated scenario that there is time.
Mm,
Time is undefeated.
undefeated.
And so, why do I bring time into this? Because a hero at one point in your life or at one point in history may be a hero for a certain reason. But then as time continues, you might find someone else can become a hero for you.
Indeed.
So give yourself enough time. If you're lucky enough to have enough runway in this journey that we all have to take, maybe over time, what influenced you in the beginning will get you far enough down the road in your journey that you'll even be able to meet another one.
Absolutely.
So over time, that's going to change. I don't think there can ever be just one scenario or individual. Give yourself time. It's just like Novocaine, as I've heard it said. Give it time, it always works.
Give it time. Absolutely.
It'll change. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
No,
I'm a big believer in time.
no. I mean, you starting with belief as kind of your shielding, and then giving yourself time to let that shielding get like even tougher and tougher. It's like, all right, fight that supervillain that way. And then give yourself time, even if you kind of succumb to the imposter syndrome. I think my thing, and I kind of put uh questions like that together to kind of voice them out loud because they speak to me. In this venture here, what I'm doing with OJonesMusicFest, I've been, background in the music thing for probably as long as you've known. I mean, we back over there on campus together, and we were doing the music then, but I was a background player. I had assigned myself that position. Now, it might not be that I hold a microphone and perform on stage and stuff, but I didn't have to not be central. I elected that until not necessarily recently. I've been doing this for a while, but it took a long while for me to get started. I could fret on that and let that be a defeat. But I think I didn't have the words until today. You gave voice to them. Give yourself time, give yourself grace and a long enough runway and say, hey, I mean, sometimes you can take off quick if you're coming off an aircraft carrier. Sometimes it takes a long runway on a what's the Wilbur Orville right? You need a long runway to take off. It just took a longer runway, but we up.
Yep.
Absolutely. So continuing to have real conversation with real people, really doing their thing, and we need more of this. So real words from real people. So let's get more. Um, Speaking on heroes, I have to recognize that my mama was my fave hero. Uh, and I read a lot of comics and watched a lot of TV. Still number one hero. As a person of faith, she mused on a favorite Bible verse of hers. And I come to find out that she focused on just the first part of it. It's a pretty long verse, but it's Psalms 46, verse 10. And I'll use the New International Version. Uh, and she used it to kind of push through. And it was a life philosophy of hers that she quoted a lot. It begins, be still and know that I am God. And she'd break that thing all the way down, squeezing all the wisdom and peace that she got from the words. Be still and know that I am God is blessed assurance. Take a little chunk off of it, be still and know that I am. Like what, God told Moses, tell them that the I am sent you. So know that I am. So it's like he's there, seek him. Be still and know. All there is to know that we believe and that she believed is of and with him. And then sometimes you just got to be still. Don't be too anxious. Don't be too angry, or don't be too anything. Just take a beat, take a breath, and meditate. And then finally, in some instances, it's enough to just be, to exist, to endure, to be at peace, even as the storm rages. And so then she quoted that around to others, to me often, and I took it with me. I think that that's just one source of wisdom. I wonder if you might impart some saying. Doesn't have to be from the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita. It could just be something that you heard somebody on the corner say one day and said, you know what, I'm gonna take that. But do you have like a some kind of jewel, as Kenny Smiles used to say, some chunk of wisdom that you can impart on the listener?
I got a lot of them.
There you go.
I got a lot of different little mantras that I go to
Mantras, that's good.
often. And I used the one earlier, believe. Just believe is always the one for me.
Mm.
And it really just boils down to I'm you rarely see anyone open the Bible and then at some point later close it and say, you know what, that was a good book.
Mm.
You never see anyone do that. Me included, you included. You never, again, you
Absolutely.
might see someone reading a book and they'll close it and say, you know what, that was a really good book.
Mm.
You don't ever see that. That one is one to always be able to go back to.
That's right.
I've been raised on it. I don't quote scripture. I've never been good at it. I live scripture. I know what I hear when I hear it. I'm always open to new scripture.
Right.
I was the one that had to read from the Bible and when we were in church. So I've come up born and raised in the church,
Mhm.
but I've never been that person that would go in and just quote verses from the Bible. I never have been. The one thing that I maintain is a belief that you're really always in church. Church is the building, but everyone you encounter, the true feeling is always you're supposed to treat people as you want to be treated. So
That's
that's a
right.
very biblical, spiritual, human thing to do. So
Absolutely.
I've said this a lot, and I'm sure that people think I'm saying something slick as an excuse for why maybe I haven't gone in a while, or growing up when you weren't there, everyone would ask you, "Where's your church home?" Haven't been in a while,
Hmm.
and I would always say, "Hey, I feel like I'm always in church."
Absolutely.
And the the one church that I know, and the only one that I've really ever known, even though I've gone to many, is right here in this town that you see over my shoulder here, right over this
Mm.
shoulder, I guess, up here.
Mm,
is in that town. And but as I said, I'm always in church. I'm a son of Selma. The one church that I've always known is there, even though I've lived all over the world. So believe, belief, that's always a good thing. But there are I've so sayings. You always can find someone that has something that's great to say.
right.
What I always find or hear people saying a lot is when they really just do not understand something. I just don't understand. And you, anytime I hear that, you know that that person is frustrated beyond belief.
Mm,
I'm sure you've said it before.
mhm.
I'm sure you've heard someone say it before. You've probably said it here within the last 2 to 3 weeks or a month, or even since the beginning of the year.
I've
You
said it.
know?
I've said it a lot, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all know that comedy is the great elixir. This person, God rest him, the great George Carlin. You probably have heard of this comedian. And over time, he became sharper with his perspective.
That's right.
And the one thing that he left with me, if I ever find myself in a situation and I find myself saying, I just don't understand, I will repeat the mantra that he left with me. And I know that this is a show, hopefully rated R language or barnyard
Let it
4 letter
fly.
words
Let it
are
fly.
not off limits.
No, let it fly.
But what he said, he goes, just remember when you get that feeling that I just mentioned, just remember that it's all bullshit and it's bad for you. Right? It's all bullshit
And when you said it, I can
for you.
see.
And I find myself using that more and more and more in my life.
When you said it, I heard it in his voice.
That's perfect. Even
That's what I
better.
said. Yeah.
Even better.
Oh
And
no.
that's the balance. And that's how you kind of can keep climbing sometimes and live
Right.
by those words that are in that good book that no one ever closes and says that was a good book. You have to always at some point refer back to the teachings there.
Man.
And that isn't scripture, that's just a perspective. That's a comedic perspective
Hey,
that I found applicable when the perspective or the situation isn't comedic. It is a situation, not always comedic. And you know that the barnyard language applies, but you got to find some way to compartmentalize that feeling and move on. And that's the one. If you ever find yourself saying, I just I don't even finish stating it. I just go right to that phrase.
absolutely.
And it gives the levity that you need to keep moving.
That's
It's
true.
just and I just find it to be very funny. You could sit there, I could read you the whole Bible, or I could find something that just applies. Low
So
lying fruit.
no, I think that like it's probably two phrasings. At least I pulled out two phrases that I'll probably be utilizing going forward. I believe just believe, just by itself, when you go back to the climbing paradigm, and maybe you got that quitter, and there's nothing that can be said to them, but someone on the verge of camping that really wants to be a climber, you just reach out, grab both of their shoulders, eyeball to eyeball, forehead to forehead, and just believe. And that's it. You know, if you just were to mutter that word through the teeth, like the top is there, we ain't there yet. Believe. And they go, you know what, Al, you right, you right. They get their legs back up on them, take another swallow of water, and they go another couple of steps. You know, just that believe. So there's that one part. But then if there is a philosophy that's guiding everybody in the pack up the mountain, and then there becomes a disagreement on that philosophy, and you say, hey, oh, it's all bullshit. Everybody laughs. They take a beat. We're able to get back on the same page again because you've infused what could have been a divisive situation with some levity and maybe work back to some reason, if not some kind of unity and purpose. I think those two things, yeah, it's something in that. That's some real conversation right there. That's what I'm pulling.
Glad.
It's, absolutely. So now,
Little nuggets I've found along the climb.
oh, absolutely, man. I pick them up and put them in the pocket. Now, I
You
will
always
say
need a helping hand to guide you.
that's right. Now, I will say also
And
full circle.
that book you can actually get. I've had it for a lot of years. I got it as a present, and it's a book Denzel Washington wrote.
Oh, snap.
Uh, a helping hand to guide me.
A helping hand to guide me. And
I
that's
gave it to my son. I told my son, I said, read this book, and you don't have to memorize it, but just read it. There's some nuggets in here that you can draw from.
absolutely.
He's
I,
15,
oh, okay. Now, if you have
and he's had it for at least 2 or 3 years now.
a 15-year-old heeding wise advice is already its own miracle. So, congratulations to you right there.
My daughter, same way. I gave her the Jamie Foxx book.
Okay.
Here, read this. You know, I forget what the title of it was, but it's funny. Um,
Absolutely.
I gave it to her and said, "Hey, just go in there and grab some nuggets out of it. There's some
Absolutely.
comedy in it, but there's some leadership principles and there's some wisdom and perspective in it."
Absolutely. Very good. Well, now it looks like we got those little tidbits, those nuggets, maybe some stones for, whatever Goliaths that we would face. And that we talked about, employing, I suppose, like a wisdom, faith, whatever, in fighting some evils. I want to talk about the ambiguous they, because, going kind of into the middle of the pie now, uh, you are on your own journey to try to do a thing that a lot of people probably dreamt of, but instead of climbing that mountain, they're camping or they quit. You kept going and you faced down evils, and some of those evils were self-created, but some of them are principalities or entities outside of yourself. I just
Some of
lump
them are real.
some, and some of them are very real. I lump all of them together, Al. I call them the ambiguous they. So then, and I know they say, well, I would, but they won't let me. That kind of vernacular. If you would, I want to have you talk about the kinds of obstacles, the things that you overcome, and how of what they put in your way. That's kind of specifically, what were you trying to do, and what did they do to hinder that? If there's names to them, when you said they're real, if you ain't scared, and I know you ain't scared, name them. Give them a face, point at the demon, and then did they, in just being honest and stuff there, if you could share it, did they ever really get to you and make you want to leave early, make you want to camp out instead of keep climbing? And what did you do to get over it? So again, you can speak to your younger self or speak to somebody who might be on the climb, who's thinking about camping, or even better yet, quitting and stuff like that. But talk about that how you faced them down, got over it. I mean, how you might have succumbed. Any one of these is knowledge. Share.
I think I've done it. To be honest with you, they all kind of come out of that same. This whole windup has led to a place where I am now. Is all of those things: believing, time, balance, continuing on, continue to climb. You need a helping hand to guide you, right?
Absolutely.
Don't be. I forgot the name of the book that I gave to my daughter, um, as well. I give them that kind of knowledge, and that I give them the best I got every time.
Good stuff.
But the ambiguous they is just that. And I just don't. We only have a certain amount of time in every day, and if you can, again, that's why the beginning of it and the end of it is, did you just do one thing every day to get there?
Mm,
And if you're not afraid at some point, or you don't feel, when I hear people say I'm nervous, I say, well, if you're not nervous, that means you don't care.
right.
Embrace that. Lean into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you care enough, you're going to have all those feelings. But when you don't have that feeling, that's when you probably should be worried.
Facts. I think I've heard it said, don't try to find inspiration. Don't try to find motivation. Don't even try to find courage. Find consistency.
One
So
thing every
then
day.
that's right. One thing every day and
But you know
believe.
what? One thing that I find that happens with a lot of people is when they get that, you spend so much time with want
Mm,
that you forget what it is that you want.
mm,
But what you want, you probably don't need right now.
yeah, that's true.
And I've gotten to a point where the one thing every day, when you get to the end and you're really focused in and you've gotten to a point of celebration on something, the one thing every day might have just turned into five,
Yeah,
because you're actually doing something now.
yeah,
And again, if you're in balance, you can kind of move in a direction away from some of those other things that you put plenty of time into, one thing every day, where you don't get judged as harshly in the balance of things. When you're putting five things, maybe you could have been putting four things into four other things, but you're not putting time into those other four things. You're taking all that effort you would have put into four other things into one thing right now.
absolutely.
Probably not going to make the top stop spinning in a circle once you spin it. But if you run out of time, or if you just don't, or haven't given yourself enough grace, I've heard you use that word, enough belief, enough input, enough study, you're gonna get to a point where you it's go time, and you just haven't gathered all the tools for the toolbox it's going to take to get that final distance. Because it's never there. As I've said, I listen to a lot of people say a lot of smart things, and the one thing that I've heard, you've heard it, we've all heard it. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
I like to take that one step better, because I heard this and I was reading somewhere, don't know where it was, the owner of the Falcons, Arthur Blank, said, yeah, Arthur Blank, I've been told, I don't know this, I just have heard it. He has a poster on his wall, and on behind it says, "It's not a sprint or a marathon. There is no finish line."
Mm, okay. I ain't heard that, but I'll take it.
I've been using it a long time. I don't know where I read it or how long ago it was when I read it, but I hear that a lot. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I'm saying, okay, well, that means that there's a finish line.
That's right. Instead, no finish line. Huh.
There is no finish line.
Got it.
There is a finish line, it's a dash.
Yes. There you go. There it is. I guess
And what'd
technically
you do?
that is a
What did you
dash.
do?
What did you
Yeah,
do
what
with
did
the
you do?
dash?
But can you leave something behind that people can build on, or that you can at least prove that you did something or offered something into this moving part in this through this sphere of life where you actually can say, "Hey, I tried my best to share something, make a difference somehow." Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
you just hope that somebody meant. What was it that I heard somebody else say? You just hope that somebody cries at your funeral, man. Come on.
Absolutely. Oh man, so many times, like back in the day, like, we'd be on the campus apartment or when we moved off campus and stuff like that, we left the door open. And so many times people would knock and we'd be like, it's open. And they come in and say, man, y'all could have got. I said, well, I mean, do you think that a boat lock, if somebody really wants to get you or keep them from getting you, my real protection is not here. My real, I guess, solace, or if there was ever some sense of security that I would have, is that if someone's standing over my grave, tragic or otherwise, they won't say good riddance. Maybe somebody will shed a tear. That's how I'm living. So in that regard, leave the door open. Because I ain't no reason to come get us. We didn't do nothing to you. We want to do something for you. So I'm with you. I want to live a life that maybe, and if you don't, it's fine. I'm not trying to make people cry, but at the same time, if I live a life that where somebody will say something other than good riddance, well then, yeah, that's good. I'll take that. Well, now, brother Al, I want to move into that. We circle around the edge of the pie, and some people like the crispy stuff. This is a pie. I like to get to the middle. And so then at this point in the interview, somebody might ask, what's up? But I'd rather ask what's now. Like, what do you want us to know now and celebrate that thing that they couldn't stop you from doing? Now's the time. Turn it on. Tell us what you got going on. I know you've been chopping at the bit, and thank you for your patience. Go for it, man. Tell us what's up.
The now I've got a film that's playing. It's an advanced screening of a documentary about my family. I am a son of Selma. We are a family of Selma, and the project that we are working on, or the project that was just completed, took 2 years to make. It's a documentary, but it's more of a real-time capture narrative than it is going back and giving a history lesson. It's a real-time narrative, more of a documentary than anything, because it does account for what occurred. You may know, which I'm pretty sure you should, and if the folks that are listening haven't heard, Selma, Alabama had a tornado hit it back early January of 2023, January of the 12th, 2023. Tornado, it was the EF2, and it destroyed the town pretty much. It destroyed my family home.
Oh,
The home that we knew, gone. My
goodness.
folks were home when the tornado hit. They miraculously came out with minimal physical damage in terms of the rebuild, in terms of, health, spirituality, just the bodily injuries are not, you can't see it. There are none to see physically. Uh, but there are other parts that have to be rebuilt, and I tell the story of that journey. So the name of the film is called Roofless, Roofless, Roofless after the disaster. And this just says, when the storm settles, the real story begins. And it's the one film that I wish I never had to make.
Mm,
With all my attempts, good, bad, and otherwise, the ones that I did complete, the ones that I started and didn't complete, this is the one that I wish I never had to make. And
that's
it's
tough.
pretty much just a recorded love letter about my family.
Wow.
and it's screening now in Hapeville. It will be screening. I'm not saying screening now. It will be. We will be having an advance screening in Hapeville, Georgia. Academy Theater is where it's going to be screening. Thursday, May 29. That's a Thursday. Like I said, the last Thursday of the month of May 2025. This film, as I mentioned, began January the 12th, 2023. It wrapped and completed and was screened in Selma, Alabama, exactly 2 years to the day, January 12, 2025. Self-imposed deadlines. Wasn't as if anyone was asking me to complete it. It was just a self-imposed mission and goal of mine.
Mission.
And we followed that screening with 4 more screenings at the Selma 60th March, right? Like I said, right here over my shoulder. And we screened the film on March the 7th, 2025, exactly 60 years to the day of when the original march in Selma, Alabama took place in the name of voting rights for Black Americans.
Hmm.
On that, so it was a journey that was made. I could have never expected, but that was the time frame that I imposed, and just so happened the numbers lined up. 60 years after the march, we're showing a film about my family and another situation that occurred that affected that already historic town. And we were showing it, like I said, March the 7th, 1965, March the 7th, 2025. I'm able to show a film in historic downtown Selma about my family. It's pretty surreal that it could have even gone that way. So,
Man.
but fast forward to now, the film is going to be screening here in Atlanta, Georgia, Hapeville, Georgia, a very arts central town. It's playing at, it's called the Academy Theater. It is the oldest theater company in the city of Atlanta. And it will be screening there, as I said again, May 29, which is a Thursday, in Hapeville at the Academy Theater. You can look it up. Just go in there and you can type Roofless after the disaster in, and it should pull up. You'll see it on the Academy Theater's website.
You'll
We're
also
very
see.
humbled to be invited to even be able to. We were invited to show it, and honored and thrilled to be able to share it. And again, I could go on and on and on with my pronouncements, but I hope that I can show you better than I can tell you the story about Roofless after the disaster.
Absolutely. And folks, not only can you Google or go over there to the theater site and look it up, it's going to be plastered all over OJonesMusicFest social media, the web landing page. Y'all going to get sick of it. Well, that's all right. Be sick. This is going to be real conversation, the realest conversation, the very personal conversation, a family travail into to try. Actually, I don't know how this is going to go. I guess we'll see it in the film. But whatever it was captured in real time by a real filmmaker who is exposing something really real, about himself, his family. Right here, brother Al is doing it. So it's not just like real conversation, like esoteric or just something high in the sky. This really happened. This is a happening, and he's going to share it. I need butts and seats. The debut, the launch of OJonesMusicFest couldn't have been timed better. We launch on 5/23/25. That's a palindrome. So I chose it just because it was a clever same forward and backward. But who
I
knew?
noticed that.
Exact. But who knew how this would line up so that we have enough advance time along with me blowing every trumpet that I know how to get the word out here and stuff. And I'm still working on more, by the way, but we got to get people to see. I know your work in general, even if it was just a cartoon, is going to be worth experiencing. But this already seems very compelling. I've seen the trailer. I've shared the trailer on the socials and stuff like that. Folks, don't miss this. Don't be one of those people that want to support a thing if only you knew or if only you had buy. There's no if. If you can't go buy a ticket, give it to somebody else and let them go. The reason that you don't see more of what you want to see and worthwhile stuff, look in the mirror. You're the hero. You're the one that you've been waiting on. Support this dude. He's already done the work. If you want to do it, go support him. Watch how he did it and follow. But I follow this guy. I told you I'm a fan. That's why we're here. So, Brother Al, I know you've made
Well, and
mention.
we are within the 2 week warning. We are within the 2 week warning
That's right.
period. So
That's
you give
right.
yourself at least a couple of weeks to really go full bore, and been announcing it out, trying to build up. And again, this won't be the only opportunity, but the folks that can come and get it while it's really just in a rare spot for in an intimate gathering. The location, first and foremost, come and support the theater.
Absolutely.
That really and truly is something that I can honestly say is not. Come and watch a good film and support a great community theater. It's an outreach theater, and they're doing amazing things over there. So I have to. I cannot stress enough how much that theater has to offer. You may or may
Absolutely.
not know this, but Sam Jackson is a alumni of that theater.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Let's go even further back than that. David Hasselhoff is an alumni of this theater.
Knight Rider, baby. Yeah.
Gary Williams, who
Gary
is the
Williams.
comedian, he's the voice of Uncle Ruckus
That's right.
from Boondocks, is an alumni of this particular theater. There are others, some very well known. Kenny Leon, he's the one that's directing
Mm.
Denzel in Othello and has directed Denzel in Fences, is an alumnus of that particular theater. There are many, many more to name. Some very well known, some not so well known. But that's what this theater is, an outreach theater. Support them, support their cause. And they were gracious enough for me to have a relationship with someone that knows the theater well enough to say, when you're done showing it in Selma, why don't you bring it to us? So here we are.
Absolute. Peace and blessings to them for doing that, for giving you the proper platform and to be seated among some noteworthy alumni. And now you'll join those ranks. Um,
That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I want to do now in the remaining time that we have, you mentioned before how some of the behind the scenes people in a production got a chance to celebrate themselves. It's always some unsung heroes along your journey. Like you said, you don't climb alone. If you would take these last minutes, kick your shout outs to people who wouldn't otherwise get those shout outs, and then make sure you wrap up in telling us how we can keep up with you, because I know this ain't gonna be the last thing that you do. So give us the socials and how to get in contact, but the shout outs and then how to keep up with you.
Well, first and foremost, I have to give a lot of kudos to you for inviting me to speak to your audience. That's a
Absolutely.
big deal. The greater city of Atlanta, of course, Selma's in the house.
Absolutely.
Alabama's in the house. Georgia's in the house. I like to think that I have a very wide network.
Yes.
My website is southtownmediaproductions.com.
Yes.
And over time, I have just amassed a network that I always like to think I can reach back to and pick up where we left off. So the kudos just go to anyone that has inspired me along the way, whether you knowingly or unknowingly. I've always leaned in a lot on my family. giving the support, helping me stay sharp, sharpening. What's the phrase? Man sharpens man, like steel sharpens steel. That is
That's
a
right.
biblical passage.
That's right.
So I don't look at them anymore as arguments. I look at them as we're just sharpening each other. The disagreements, you're sharpening each other. And if time willing, once we get past whatever disagreement, good, bad, or otherwise, we'll be sharper on the other end, and that'll be the glue that keeps us going. So my kudos go to just a wide network of folks, too many to name at this point, but allowing me to at least be in this position that I'm in. If I had been trying to make this up, I wouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
We all know, without the grace of our universe, whatever people pray, however they pray, whatever they believe in, they always say, hey, God creates the wind, but you still got to put your sail in there.
Fact.
So, yeah, there have been a lot of people that have helped to blow wind into whatever sail I've put in the air. This is just one sail. This has become a very flagship kind of project, kind of poetic, that I kind of landed there where I'm saying, the God and the wind and the sail. But this has become a flagship project that I hope going forward will be the beginning of many things that will come behind it. Hopefully it can be some kind of drag force. You never know.
Absolute. Folks,
kudos to you for allowing me to speak to your audience.
Hey, kudos to you for accepting the invite and stuff. This had to happen. You had to speak to the people. I'm just glad I got a chance to be the I guess the platform, or one of them. There's going to be more to kind of get this word out. Not necessarily at ground zero or at the ground floor and stuff, but I'm in there. And I want to thank you for having a real conversation with us. Folks, this is real people. Brother Al is as real as they come, really doing the thing. He's already telling you what's going on here, and we need more of this. So let's do more. Let's get more. I want to thank you all for listening, for checking out the latest real conversation from the OJonesMusicFest, the second annual OJonesMusicFest, a fandom celebration, a production of No He Did ENT, under the auspices of Cottrell Jones Multimedia. You can find us everywhere, and you can find information on Brother Al's latest venture right there at OJonesMusicFest, OJonesMusicFest. We Googleable, so you can Google that, but just put the @ in front and follow us. Take care, y'all.